Gone forever, but still knocking around. I'm so far removed, and that's worse.
Hey guys, this is Chauncey from Good Music to Know, and today we're joined with Derek Inver from Route 500, a band where raw emotion meets lo-fi intimacy. His music is a delicate balance of poetic storytelling and unfiltered vulnerability, blending observational lyrics with haunting melodies that linger in the mind, and we are so happy to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So let's just dive into it. Your last album, Island Perimeter, you carried a strong sense of introspection and emotional depth. So looking back at that album, do you feel like the album captured a particular chapter of your life, or would you say its themes still resonate with you today?
That's a good question. I think it definitely captured a particular chapter in my life, but I wouldn't say there's that much that's changed since then. Maybe that's not true on a few of the songs. There's loads of different avenues that the songs go down, and I suppose some are things that I still battle with. I think still things I battle with, but maybe that seem a bit further off in a good way.
Yeah, that makes sense. And one thing I love about listening to your music is if you do listen to the lyrics, it oftentimes can feel like you're listening to like a diary entry. It just feels so personal. So my question to you is, were there any lyrics that were maybe hard to write emotionally for you?
I think I've always lent into the harder stuff. So I think I'm quite used to it. As you say, actually, it is very true with the way I write that it does all begin that way. And I think the majority of songs I write these days, the way that I write is to just get them out without thinking that they may become a song or something that I'd share. So I think that's why I find it easier to go there, because at the time I'm writing it, I think I'm usually writing it just for myself.
A stream of consciousness.
Yeah, exactly.
So very cathartic, I can imagine, in a sense. Yeah. And then, so what I love also is that you beautifully balance, so poetic ambiguity, but also raw storytelling, as we mentioned. So how do you decide how much to reveal in your lyrics versus leaving things that might be open to your interpretation?
I think there's a healthy balance. I think I am still quite guarded in the way that I write. I think the final pieces that people will receive in the form of a record or a song will be edited in some shape or form through metaphor, or sometimes I'll take something very on the nose out and cover it up a little bit, I suppose. I mean, I do it first and foremost for myself, so I think there's no need for me to share too much. What me and my friends often say with other musicians is that you can't take something back. If you say too much, it's out there. So I think I am wary. I think I share enough. Like, I don't think I need to share too much.
Yeah, it's a good balance already. Yeah. So your sound embraces imperfection in a way that feels intentional. What does rawness over perfection mean to you as an artist?
I think it's two things. I think one of the main things for me with this project was battling against myself and my perfectionism. And I think part of that was letting go of the sort of final piece and final idea, or the way it's singing the perfect way I wanted it to sound in my head. Whereas I wanted to lean more, and I still challenge myself to lean more into the errors and the rawness of it, and a moment captured in time, and that a song is just that. It's one version of a song. I'm still learning that. And I think the other part of it as well is that I've worked in the past a lot with producers that just didn't fit me. And I think I have a real aversion to clean sounding music. And I think that's because of what the topics of the songs are. I think because first and foremost, I'm about the music. I love writing and I love lyrics, but music is the main thing for me. And if it doesn't match the topic and the subject matter, it doesn't quite make sense to me. Like, I think as well, a lot of music I listen to is from the 90s. I'd say that's the main era of music I listened to, and that was the beauty of tape and analog recording, was the imperfections. You couldn't go through and edit, you couldn't auto-tune, and that's something really beautiful that I think in the modern age is something we're missing. So I think it's nice to lean into that.
Yeah. I also grew up during like the 90s grunge era where everything was pretty much unfiltered. It wasn't overly stylized. So, but I think a lot of people, well, I don't know, maybe it's just my music preference, but I think a lot of people nowadays kind of prefer that more raw, unfiltered sound. I don't know, I feel like it has a more kind of a visceral effect when you listen to it versus something that just sounds perfect. But yeah, definitely a 90s baby. So I love that raw sound. I know many artists fear over-explaining their work, but I'm curious, are there any tracks from your last album where the meaning has shifted for you over time?
So embarrassing that I'm going to have to remember what songs are on the album. It feels like, I think since we entered the new year, the album, because we're onto new stuff, the album feels so long ago. There's not even many songs on it. Maybe I'll play you out, actually. I think it's the most universal emotion, and it's about loss. And it's about a particular loss of mine. It was actually about a friendship and something that was very important to me. But the general idea of it was that it was about losing somebody that you thought you would have forever. And it wasn't about someone passing away. It was just about that kind of loss, but it's a similar grief because it can feel the same depending on the situation. And I think since I wrote that, which felt very cathartic at the time for that particular instance, I've seen different situations happen in my life, more grief, more losses, and I suppose just the general loss of time and things changing as you get older. And that song always kind of carries that feeling with me. It's not exactly a nice feeling, it's quite existential, but an important emotion. And yeah, that's one that I've definitely noticed play differently at shows because I think about different things when I play it, and depending on what's going on in my life at the time.
Yeah. I was doing research on your sound, and obviously lo-fi comes up a lot. So lo-fi production often creates, I would say, an intimate, almost like voyeuristic experience for the audience or the listeners. What draws you to this particular sound?
I think it is that, like I was saying earlier, that feel of it. It's so alive. That's what it feels like. And it feels dirty and it feels messy. And I think that just encapsulates everything that my music is about so perfectly and the world that it comes from. I also just love the empowerment of DIY. And I think I struggled a few years back of questioning myself of whether I knew what I was doing. And I think I realized that in anything creative, you don't have to. And you get told, especially in the industry, you get told that there's certain ways of doing things, and you just get told you can't do a lot of things, and you absolutely can. And that's a nice feeling, and it's a nice challenge. I just also love the idea of the soul process being done by the person who wrote it. I think the production is such a vital role that can often be seen as just sort of adding and building around a song. It's amazing to work from the mind of the song, and things just come up organically that other people wouldn't put to it. And it may not be technically very good, but it fits because of course it does.
Yeah. Wait, so you also produce your songs then, correct? Yeah.
I have produced a few of them, and then with this record, I started by self-producing. But my problem with producing is that I can't motivate myself. I like the control, but I've struggled to motivate. So I did have a lot of help on the album. I kind of co-produced it in the end with my guitarist, and he ended up making it what it is. Like, I won't take credit for that.
But I think that even makes a difference because it's someone that's actually in the band, or like he knows the music ins and outs of the music.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then your new single, 126, I was trying to do research and like look up the meaning. I was like, are these angel numbers? What does 126 mean? So just curious, what does 126 represent? And can we expect to see this on maybe an upcoming album or EP?
So 126, it's not that magical really. It was the lyrics in the verse after the first chorus are 126. 126 peaks down the tree line, which was about my first 6 months of this current sobriety run. So it was basically like months 1 to 6 of this run of sobriety. And I ended up just calling that in my voice memo. And then when we started learning it and playing it, I was calling it 126, and then it just stuck and nothing else really hit. And every time I think about it works for me.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Okay, let's still a cool meaning behind it. Okay, so ultimately, what do you hope listeners take away when they listen to your music?
I think just escape. I think that's what I do it for, and that's what I listen for. I think, particularly in the climate of the world right now, the creative arts are so needed. And I think there's just nothing like listening to music. And I make it for myself, but I make it for the person who is like me out there. People who've felt on the sidelines, perhaps, or in a minority, or everyone. I think the people that struggle, that's who it's there for. And that is a hell of a lot of music listeners. So
the ones that feel. And then maybe I missed it, but did you say 126 would be on an album or EP?
Oh, I forgot to say. Yeah, it will be. We're currently recording album 2, and that's where I am now at the moment. Actually, I'm in London, in the studio this week, and 126 will be on it. And that I don't want to say for sure, but the plan is for it to be out this year.
Will there be similar themes that we saw in the past album on this album, or like will we still get that sense of like, you know, raw, unfiltered, slightly melancholy, a bit grunge, you know?
I think I would say it's the same world, it's the same journey, it's the same trip, it's all the same stuff. Some more loss, some more dissociation, and it's different though. We're recording it differently, which I am enjoying, because for me, the first album was made to almost prove a point, and it wasn't made to do anything. It wasn't made to go on the radio. It wasn't made for any of this. I'm not saying the next one is, but the next one is, I don't know, my head's in the game for it. Like, I think I've just succeeded with that album, what I needed. And so now, I mean, it's just the way we're recording that's different. Like, it's going to be bigger. I think it's going to be better. I love it. I'm really, really proud of it. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to sharing it. I'm just looking forward to sharing more.
Will it come out this sometime this year or next year?
That is the plan this year.
Yeah, very exciting. And do you guys already have a name for the album?
I do. I think it's going to be called Enter Sweet Oblivion.
Oh, that's a good name.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah. That would also be an amazing band name as well. So it works in both.
Great.
Occasions. Yeah. Cool. And then I suppose the last question I have that I always ask is, are there any final words that you would like to leave your fans or listeners with?
I think the main thing that's on my mind at the moment is so many aspects I could go down, but I think that at the moment what the world needs is community. And I think just about how there is an uprising coming of good people. And I think particularly one of the things for me at the moment I'm focusing on is my connection with my followers. And I think social media is a ticking time bomb, and it's the conversation within the independent world and the industry world that everyone's worked hard to build something on platforms that we are against, and we want to leave, but it's so difficult to, because we need to either all do it together or we shoot ourselves in the foot and kill the followings that we've worked doubly as hard for as we used to, because it used to be an easier game. So community in the sense of supporting minorities and supporting people around you, but at the same time supporting the arts, because we need them. And I think diverting away a little bit from these major platforms is a good start. And things like mailing lists, like I've started a mailing list, and it's a beautiful community. It's a lovely place to write. It's where we need to be moving. And it's just a big time to support people. That's what I've been thinking a lot about recently.
Yeah, totally agree. Cool. Well, that's all I had for you today. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
We've had been